What's going on, everybody? I've been contemplating making another video. It was going to be on this bike here. This is my 2003 YZ250F. This is a bad bike. I mean, it was so fast, but I was just riding it, and I mean, it was riding fine. I mean, just like it always did. And then all of a sudden, it just went from running to just absolutely not. No sputter. It didn't fall in RPMs and die. It just whop, just dead stop. So right when it happened, I was like, yep, my motor just locked up. And you can see, you can grab this damn foot shift right here. I meant the Kickstarter, and it will not budge. So this one is locked up, fixing to start tear down. We're gonna see if it's the top end or the bottom end, and then we'll rebuild it. Gotta whack on the jewel ski real quick. All right, so I wanted to put a little side note in here, but first off, let's take a look at the jewel. It's pink limited edition. It's amazing. This thing will whack your socks off. Kids, if you are below the age of a tobacco consumer in your state, do not partake in smoking a jewel or partake in any consumption of any nicotine or tobacco until you are legally of age, which I myself, I am. So that thing is amazing. All right, so I wanted to throw a little side note in here real quick. I got to thinking whenever I was doing the video, some of you that are watching this are going to be scared. And more than likely, if you're watching this video, it's because you have a YZ250F, a dirt bike, anything that the motor is locked up on, and you're going to attempt to rebuild it. Listen, we're going to start out with, you can do it, okay? If you don't do it, what are you going to do? You're going to pay a dude, a human being just like you, to do it for you because he's maybe certified, maybe he's just had experience, and you trust him. You feel like he can do it. He trusts himself, so he offers the opportunity to do the work for you. Whenever he was born, he had never rebuilt a motor. So there was a motor in his time that was his first. I imagine he was just as scared. Anyways, there was a motor that was his first. He had never done. Before he did it, I imagine he was just as scared, just as worried. You know, what if I do something wrong? What if I leave a bowl towel? What if I don't tighten something down right? This and that. And then one day he just said, screw it, I'm just going to do it. Whether he had help, whether he had instructions, whatever, he did it. And it worked out fine for him, so now he's built up his confidence and he considers himself a mechanic. I myself am a certified mechanic, and I've only rebuilt probably about 3 or 4 motors. I've never rebuilt a dirt bike motor, but I'm just going to do it. Me and my buddies have a little saying, there is nothing to doing it but to do it. And I mean, it's just as simple as it sounds. There's nothing to it. You just got to do it, you know. You just got to put in the effort and do it. So I just say that to say, if you are scared to do it because you've never done it before, do it. There are plenty of videos, plenty of forums. You can go to any ATV, UTV, dirt bike, whatever, small engine dealership and get instructions from them, more than likely, unless they have terrible customer service. Or you can get a helper, a mentor. I mean, literally, there's so many options to make sure you don't mess it up. Most of those instructions you get from dealership, they have torque specs, they have how to time them, you know, all the, from the beginning to the end, step by step, how to do it. So I've never even owned a YZ250F, but mine locked up, and I feel confident enough to start, so I'm gonna rebuild it. All right, so after that little side note, it is time to continue. So I'm gonna go over what I think the next steps are. Like I said, I've never done a dirt bike before, so now that I've taken the seat off and the whatever the piece of plastic that we took off, you call them, probably fairings or something. I assume the next step's gonna be the gas tank. Please make sure your valve right here is turned to the off position like it is right here. Then you unhook this gas line right here from the carburetor. And I believe this strap right here is the only thing. It's kind of hard to get off, pretty strong, but you just pull it off. I'm gonna have to do it with both hands. You take that off, and I believe that's about the only thing keeping it on there. But that's gonna be my next step. After that, I'm gonna try to take the carburetor off. Yeah, then I'm gonna take motor mounts out, which are these right here, these little top motor mounts. You take the head off, get that out of the way. Take the valve cover off, and you've got your head right here, and then you've got your jug right there. So that piece right there, that piece right there, and that piece right there are all three separate pieces, and they go literally top to bottom order whenever you're taking them off. Just make sure you get this carburetor out of the way first, and then boom, boom, boom. Once you get the head off, we'll more likely be able to take the jug bolts out, and we'll see if it's locked up on the top end or the bottom end. But let me get this gas tank off. I'm gonna start another time lapse up for y'all. As y'all can see, most of the work so far has been fairly simple. See, I got the gas tank off. Took my little fuel line off of it. Let's see, I loosened the clamp right here on this boot on the carburetor, where it goes from the carburetor to the head. I loosened that front clamp. This back clamp, I'm not sure that you can see it. Right there. It's got a Torx head screw on it, and I don't have any Torx bits, so I will be stopping where I'm at till I can get some Torx bits. Well, I say stopping where I'm at. I may just keep on going, but I really need to get that out of the way, and I don't want to strip that bolt out. Let's see, I need to drain the water and take the two little radiators off. I really don't know what's going on up here. Like, I don't know if this is a coil or what. I'm pretty sure these bikes have, you know, spark plugs, of course, but I didn't think they'd be fed by a coil. This right here is an oil line. This right here is a little blow-by tube. You can see it comes out at the bottom right here. It's not attached to anything. It's just a little blow-by tube. This is just the valve cover here. It's not, I'm not gonna say it's not important, but it's not near as important as this head and the jug right here, or this bottom end, of course, which is what I'm really hoping is what's messed up on it. They're cheaper. They're a lot more work, but they're cheaper. Good thing to know before you take your carburetor off. You gotta take your throttle cable and your hot start cable off. Let's see, does that wire run to the carburetor? Yes, okay, you gotta disconnect this wire and harness right here on top of the carburetor. You see the connection right there behind the carburetor. You gotta take that off. You're gonna, of course, have to pull those little lines out of the holders down there. I'm not updated on the terminology of what all these things are called. I mean, it's just that hose, this hose, that holder, that connector, this and that. The next move is to get the carburetor off. So it's disconnected from the head, and literally it'll just be a motor sitting on a frame. Another thing you want to do before you take this head off, which I'm going to show you, but before you take this head off, you have to take this line off. Now, y'all don't make fun of me. I'm not quite sure. Okay, never mind. It is a, it's water. I thought it may have been an oil line, but no, it's a water line. You can see coming right from the water pump right here. So these are banjo bolts. You don't want to lose. There should be a washer on each side of this little thing right here, this little connector on the end of this line. There should be a washer on both sides. You don't want to lose either washer, and that bolt's going to have holes in it because the liquid goes in like this, and the holes in the bolt allow it to go through the line. Either way, they need to be clean bolts on the inside and outside whenever it goes back together. The guy I bought this bike from, I mean, I've only had this bike about 2 weeks, and if you want me to be completely honest with you, it'll get up to 70 in about 5 seconds. These bikes are crazy fast. They have the most torque I've ever felt in a dirt bike. He said he had never been into the motor, and he said the guy before him said the same thing. Not sure if these are stock gaskets right here, that little lip sticking out. But, I mean, I'm not saying the dude's a liar. I'm not at all. You know, they more likely have never been into it, but the guy before him may have. You never know, but we're going to see when we get in there, see what we find in there. I'm torn between whether I want it to be the top end or bottom end. Because, I mean, if it's the top end, a new jug, new piston, new rings, depending on whether it's at top dead center or what part of the stroke it was in when it locked up, we may be able to take the wrist. No, we won't be able to take the wrist pin out. Never mind. Unless it's at the bottom of the jug. I feel like it would be less work if it were the top end. Well, I know for a fact it would be, but it's going to be more money. Either way, this thing's going to be a good bit of work to put back together. You've got to time it. These have dual overhead cams, and it's very tedious to time them. You got to be right on. If you're one tick mark off, you'll know it. And the sucky part about if you're one tick mark off, you got to take that valve cover back off. You got to take the chain tensioner back out, and you got to retime it. So as long as you get it done right the first time, you're good. I reckon I'm going to stop until I get some more Torx bits. This is only part 1 of a series. I'm going to completely show rebuilding this bike from beginning to finish. So if you want to know what all it takes, just stay tuned. Like I said, if you're contemplating building a motor, do it. Find a video, find some instructions, find a buddy to help you. Or you and your buddies just get together and just do it. The best way to learn is through mistakes. Can't make a mistake if you ain't doing anything. Y'all have a good one.